Marcus is a sucker. Okay, maybe that's a bit mean. Let's call him a model citizen. It's 27 BC, and Marcus is doing exactly what he's told. Every month, he drops one silver denarius into a heavy clay jar buried under his floorboards. He's not a gambler, he's not a spender, he's a saver. He's looking at that jar and seeing a quiet retirement, a legacy for his kids, maybe that small olive grove in the hills he's always wanted. But Marcus is actually holding a very slow melting ice cube. While he's sleeping, the Roman government is basically sneaking into his house and shaving pieces off the edges of his coins. They aren't taking the coins though, that would cause a riot. They're just watering down the soup. I was looking at the chemical analysis of some Roman hoards last night, actual lab results of coins found in the dirt from that era, and the math is brutal. In Marcus's time, that coin was 95% pure silver. Fast forward a couple of centuries, and his great-grandson is holding something that's basically a copper slug with a thin, desperate layer of silver paint on top. It's barely 5% silver. It's the greatest magic trick in history. A slow-motion heist that lasted 300 years. And honestly, I don't think we ever stopped playing the game. We just changed the names of the props. Today, we don't have furnaces to melt silver, but we do have monetary policy, and we have a global debt mountain of $348 trillion that effectively guarantees your ice cube is melting faster than Marcus's ever did. I want to look at why being a good saver is paradoxically the fastest way to lose everything when the people running the show decide to start watering the soup. I spent a few hours digging through some old university archives, specifically looking at the chemical composition of coins found in hoard sites across what used to be the Roman frontiers. It's a depressing read. You see, the Roman Empire didn't just go broke overnight, it was more like a slow, agonizing leak. Under Augustus, the denarius was the gold standard, literally 95% pure silver. By the time we get to Nero around 64 AD, he's looking at the books and realizing the math doesn't add up. He's building palaces, throwing massive parties, and fighting wars that don't pay for themselves. So, he does something sneaky. He drops the silver content to 80%. Honestly, I still don't fully get why they thought they could get away with this forever. Maybe they didn't care about forever. Maybe they just needed to pay the Praetorian Guard this Tuesday and figured the future would handle itself. But here's the mess. If you're a merchant in a Roman subura, you don't have a portable chemistry lab. You see a coin with the emperor's face on it. It looks right. It sounds right when you drop it on a stone table. So you accept it. But the government, they just created 15% more money out of the same pile of silver. Think of it like this. Imagine you're running a soup kitchen. You have one pot of thick, nutritious broth. You can feed 100 people. But then 200 people show up. You don't have more ingredients, so you just pour in a bucket of water. Now you have enough soup for everyone, but nobody is actually getting fed. They're just drinking warm flavored water. By the mid-3rd century, the Roman government wasn't just adding a bucket of water, they were basically serving a bowl of hot water with a single grain of salt in it. The silver content hit 5%, 5. I was looking at a 270 AD silver coin in a museum catalog, and it looked green, because it was almost entirely copper. The silver was just a thin wash on the surface that wore off after a week in someone's pocket. And this is the core problem. The government was paying its soldiers and bureaucrats with this watered down money, but they were demanding that taxes be paid in actual goods or old high purity coins. They were essentially forcing the public to accept junk while they hoarded the real value for themselves. It failed. Horribly. Prices didn't just go up, they exploded. I found a record of the price of wheat in Egypt during this period. In 200 AD, a certain measure of wheat cost 500 drachmae. By 334 AD, it cost 2 million. That's not an economy, that's a collapse. Hold on, let me rephrase that. It wasn't just a collapse of numbers, it was a collapse of trust. When Marcus's great-grandson realized his savings couldn't buy a single loaf of bread, he didn't just get poorer. He stopped believing in Rome. Why work? Why save? Why follow the rules of a system that is actively stealing the hours of your life through the coins in your pocket? It's a bit of a gray area, but the data suggests this is exactly when the middle class of Rome, the artisans, the small farmers, just gave up. They stopped using money, they went back to bartering, they fled the cities because the money was a lie. And this is where it starts to feel a little too close to home, because when I see that $348 trillion global debt figure, I don't see growth. I see a lot of people in expensive suits pouring a lot of water into a very old pot of soup. Actually, let's look at this from a different angle. We like to think we're smarter than the Romans. We have high-speed fiber optics, complex algorithms, and banking apps with sleek dark modes. But the core mechanics? They haven't changed in 2,000 years. The only real difference is the speed of the furnace. Roman debasement took centuries. Today, we can water the soup with a few keystrokes at a central bank. I was staring at that 348 trillion global debt figure earlier. I tried to do the math on how we actually pay that back. The reality? We don't. You can't. That much debt is like trying to fill a swimming pool with a teaspoon while someone else is draining it with a fire hose. The only way the people in charge can keep the system from snapping is to make the units you owe and the units you save worth less. If you owe $1 million and the value of a dollar drops by half, your debt just got cut in half. Great for the debtor. But for Marcus, for the person who traded 30 years of their life to put those units in a jar, they just got robbed of 15 years of their existence without a single soldier ever knocking on their door. And here's the twist that I can't quite shake. The system needs you to be Marcus, but it also needs your jar to be broken. If everyone stopped trusting the currency and spent it all today, the whole thing would go up in flames by tomorrow morning. They need you to keep believing that the silver wash on the coin is real. They call it the paradox of thrift. Economists will tell you that if we all save our money, the economy stops. No one buys the bread, no one buys the olive oil, the markets freeze. So, the system is literally designed to punish you for being responsible. It's a bit of a grey area, and I might be wrong here, but it feels like the modern financial system is a treadmill that's being sped up every single year. You're running faster and faster just to stay in the same spot. I'm looking at my banking app right now. I see the numbers, but after reading about the 3rd century crisis, I don't see wealth. I see a clock ticking down. I see an ice cube in a very warm room. It makes me wonder, if the measure of our labor is something that can be diluted at will by people we've never met, then what are we actually working for? If the official story is that saving is a virtue, but the math shows it's a secret tax, then at what point does being a good citizen like Marcus just become a form of financial suicide? I'm looking at that 348 trillion mountain, and then I'm looking at my own jar. Is it even rational to save money anymore? Or are we all just holding onto the handle of a bucket that doesn't have a bottom? Honestly, I'm still trying to find a jar that doesn't leak. I'll let you know if I find one. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos.